One of the biggest frustrations that business owners experience is that when they go to exit their business, whether they're going to pass it on to family members or sell it to the open market or whatever the alternatives are, they're often surprised by the fact that their business is less sellable than they hoped or expected. In fact, sometimes it's impacted by a significant difference in the price of what they plan to retire with. And sometimes it makes it just a challenge because the way the business has been operated very successfully, but not transferably, it can be a painful challenge for a lot of people. So that's why we try to preach this and share this information with folks early on in the process. Whatever you're doing, consider getting a business valuation, not just one that gives you a price or a range of price of what your business might be worth, but also one that indicates the value drivers so that you can choose to change things if you want or to live with things as they are. But 70 to 80% of businesses that go to market fail to sell year after year after year, in spite of the fact that we are superheroes, we run our businesses and ours are just fantastic. The reality proves to be very different. Look, we're very good at all the financials, the numbering, the marketing, the negotiation with our clients, but we realize that profits are essential, of course, but without people, there is no business. That's one of our hard line rules that we share with each other and remind ourselves all the time. It's about people. It's about you. It's about you and your family. If you go to sell your business, we've had way too many people that have exited their businesses before they were ready to, and their family members had to take over and make solutions and try and pull things out. We know this is a people-oriented organization as well as something that is useful to understand financials and numbers, etc. Buyers pay for value, and so it's important not only to build value in your business, but be able to clearly help the buyer community understand why your business is uniquely valuable in the ways that it is out there. We're constantly talking to individuals looking to buy businesses, and they want to apply an average multiple towards an above average price. You've got to help them with that a little bit by being able to say, well, here's why this stands out, why it's unique, etc., and be prepared to show that, demonstrate that. We know that a large percentage of business owners' wealth is tied up in their businesses, and if they're able to successfully sell them, unlike the unfortunate 80% that fail to sell them, it can make a world of difference in the retirement and the success of post-sale. But again, here's some statistics. You can type in your own words why businesses don't sell. See the words in gold there on the blue banner. And you're going to see data from Inc. magazine, Forbes magazine, LinkedIn, companies from overseas in Europe, and this is just a few of the articles. There are many that share the reality. Don't put it to the last minute and expect things are going to go well. Be prepared, plan through it, and get some help and get some support. At least get some insight and understanding. Look, there's two different numbers that a lot of people look at for the earnings of a business, and usually there's one where if the individual is going to work in the business, all the money that she or he could take out of the business, including the salary, that's called discretionary earnings, and it has other terms as well that you represent the same sort of thing. And then there is EBITDA, which is the earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, amortization. And that's really the profit that if you were buying a business and you paid a manager to run the business so that you didn't have to actively work in the business, the amount of money that you'd be getting out of the business. So the bottom line on your taxes is a poor representation of the profit of your business. Sometimes people look at the gross revenues, the top line, but you could have a very successful business from the standpoint of gross revenues and still not be making any profit. People are looking for it. Here's a formula, and you can look this up on the internet. You can take a picture of this if you want. This is really the discretionary earnings down here, and then after paying a manager, the EBITDA. Again, this isn't about evaluation. It's just to get people aware of some of the things that are important to understand. To show our real earnings, we need to add back things like salary, and there's all these factors that we know that we take away from our earnings in our business because we want to make sure that we don't have to pay any more taxes than we have to. So you might write off a car, maybe a family member who's no longer really working in the business, but maybe at one time was and getting a salary, and she or he liked getting that salary. So whatever we do out there. But when we want to show the buyer community their earnings, we need to sort of clean up our books and records and be able to demonstrate that clearly to people. There are also one-time expenses, right? So you might have gone through a lawsuit, or maybe you've gone through a situation where you remodeled your showroom after 25 years. And so that might impact the way your cash flow looks for a particular year. But if you clearly identify, hey, I had this one-time expense, and hey, I have these other things that aren't really part of the business that I take out, then it's going to help people understand the earnings of the business. You may have been writing off meals in your taxes. Be careful that you carefully understand what you're adding back and what you're not adding back. And meals is one of the ones where people say, well, I'm taking my spouse out, and every week we're reviewing our financials, and so we feel good about writing that off. But really, that's an adjustment that someone in the future doesn't have to do. But there's also expenses around food, such as celebrating employees' birthdays every month, or celebrating different victories, or taking customers out to gain business. And so the new person, in order to fulfill your operation and to fill your shoes, would still have to have that expense, and it wouldn't be an add back. So just because something is in a category of things like meals doesn't always mean you add it back or don't add it back. You need to be thoughtful about that process. Make sure your income is also repeatable. We've seen a lot of stuff where people got money for PPP, thank goodness, EIDL, etc. One-time lawsuit that you win and you get this cash in there, but it needs to be repeatable in order for people to really understand and pay you for what it's worth in your business. You know, look at the industry averages and look at what other businesses like yours have sold for, and try to get an indication of how your percentage of profit is compared to your gross sales. It might share with you, hey, I'm average, or I'm below average, or I'm above average, and maybe even look at the top 25% and think back, maybe I need to hire a consultant or a business coach and really rev up the value drivers in the business. What seldom works for people is to have a 1 year reckoning, hey, I'm getting ready to sell my business, so look, I made all this profit. And if you look at these two graphs where there's a referral of the term hockey stick, which means, hey, you had suddenly one good year, and it's far more credible when you have multiple years. So if you're in the point where you want to sell your business and you're thinking, I'm going to improve things, then think about improving them and give yourself at least a 2, sometimes a 3-year window in order to get to that level of success, because it's hard for people to believe that the business was making very little profit, but suddenly the year before they're selling, it's suddenly successful. It just doesn't fly. And unless you are going to be the financier of selling this business, then you're going to hopefully want an SBA lender or a bank to support it, and they also are going to want to see consistency over a period of years. By the way, if your business is selling for $2 million, very few people just open up their checkbooks and write a check for $2 million. Quite often people, especially successful people, like to leverage their investments, and having a business that's leverageable or financeable is a very powerful thing. Whether you do it yourself, which is one thing that you could do, or whether you use an SBA loan or something similar, or maybe you do a hybrid between the two. So look at this situation. This is an as-is business, and here's a business that was doing, I made up the business obviously, $5 million in profit, and the EBITDA was $850,000, and on average they were selling times 3 multiple based on the average of the industry. And so this business was going to give somebody maybe a $2.55 million return. But you think to yourself, well, wait, I think I need a little bit more. I'm going to pay taxes, I'm going to pay a broker, etc. So what do you do about that? You can work hard and try and raise the interest, though, 10%. You go out there and you push hard, and now you've got sales up 10%. That takes a lot of work to do. It's not just so easy to do or you do it all the time. But as you look through the process and everything went up, and also I imagine I spent a little bit more, 1% more in expenses compared to the one before, which was 52%. I put it 53% because you got to spend some money to make money. But the profit now is only 2.6, or the multiple of what you can get for the business is only 2.6, a little bit more than what we were looking at before. I'll go back to that slide, 2.55. You worked hard, you've got things up 10%, but even your earnings of your business did not go up 10%. But wait, there's a better way to go. As I mentioned before, value drivers are an important factor in the business. So the business that the owner is able to take away 6 weeks vacation, or has an operations manual that's written up in policy and training, or there's a lot of different factors, the revenue direction of sales, the fact that it's been consistently making a profit over a number of years in the way that's being represented, as we saw with a hockey stick, right? Look at this multiple and then take a look at how the value drivers, if you improve the factors so that it was worth more than the average multiple, in this case, I've got up to 4.5 times earnings. So in this database, we can say that There was possibly business that was sold for even 5 or 5.25 times earnings. But if you can make your business more sellable, more attractive to the marketplace, the increase could be significantly more. It's worth sitting down with an advisor, sitting down with a business coach, and thinking through, hey, do I want to push hard to increase sales 10% and make a little bit more? Or do I want to maybe do that as well as improve the value drivers of the business and get an earnings that's significantly more? Okay? So anyway, that's the end of our series. This is Brian Stevens, and we think that every owner should get the most for their business, not just in money, but the right buyer and the peace of mind. If you'd like our free ebook, you can check it out. Thank you for listening through and working through with me as I go through the different slides. I'm passionate about what I do out there, and I've been helping business owners for over 20 years, but I've had Legacy Venture Group for about 20 years. Take care. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.